Well, hello. Good afternoon. Go Owls. All right, now we're cooking. Welcome. My name is Ken Fincher, and I serve as the Vice President for Institutional Advancement and the Executive Director of the Oregon Tech Foundation. It's a pleasure to be with each of you here this afternoon as we celebrate the formal ribbon cutting for the Cornett Hall. On behalf of all Oregon Tech Owls, thank you for being here today in person or via our virtual platform. A reminder to please keep your mask on throughout the program. Speakers will remove their mask while at the podium and while at a safe distance from the audience. Today is a day of celebration. To begin the program, I am excited to welcome Oregon Tech Board of Trustees Vice Chair Vince Jones. Vince is here to share greetings from the board and also to share some Cornett history with us. Trustee Jones is an alumnus himself, class of '84, and is a retired deputy city engineer for the city of Los Angeles. Trustee Jones, welcome.
Yeah, I have to go through this routine. How's that? Can you hear me? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Finch, and hello. I'm really happy to be here to celebrate this exciting event. So as you heard, I'm Vice Chair of the Oregon Tech Board of Trustees. And while I'm here as a representative of the board, I'm truly honored to be here as an alumnus of Oregon Tech as well. This is really exciting for me. So just a little bit about myself. I graduated from Oregon Tech in 1984 with a degree in civil engineering. And so I can tell you that this place looks a little different, actually a lot different from how it looked when I was going here, and particularly Cornett Hall. And it's been a long time, but like I said, it's so great to be back on campus. But you may not know that Cornett Hall on the Oregon Tech campus can be tracked back even further. So to celebrate this day, I'd like to share a little bit of history about this special building that we see here before us. So the name Cornett is an important one for Oregon Tech's history, going all the way back to when the state of Oregon took over the Klamath Falls Marine Barracks, and which is where our namesake, the Oregon Vocational School, was. So the ceremony to celebrate this occasion was delayed. Because no one informed at that time the acting governor, Marshall Cornett, who was from Klamath Falls, that the transfer was to take place that day. So Cornett was on his way by car from Portland to Salem and had to be tracked down by police who told him to hurry. So located on the old Fort Road in Klamath Falls, the Oregon Vocational School featured a shops building named, guessed it, Cornett Hall. This man, it was an important one in our history, and it's an honor for the college to have named a building after him. And one of our governors of Oregon, Earl Snell, they both sadly passed away in a plane crash back in 1947, along with the Oregon Secretary at that time, Secretary of State Robert S. Farrell, and the pilot. So to continue to remember them, when the college moved to Campus Drive in 1961, they brought with them the building names that had special meaning in our history. And at that time, the school was actually, it went from Oregon Vocational School to Oregon Technical Institute. The trivia that I learned when I was going here. During my time at Oregon Tech, yeah, I just remember spending a lot of hours, many hours in hydrology lab, hydraulics lab, concrete lab, and others. And what I appreciated about my education here was that those labs really exposed me to a hands-on experience here, as opposed to being in a classroom studying theory. That part was fun and interesting as well. But to be able to go through some lab experiments, have that hands-on experience, I think it was something that really kind of sort of opened my eyes to the possibility of being a civil engineer. So I really appreciated that about Oregon Tech. And as I said, I was going Cornett Hall, a lot different than what it does now, and it looks amazing. And for that matter, the campus looks amazing. I'm so excited about the new seat building as well. And I'll be back for that ceremony as well, Dr. Nagy, so you can plan on saving a space for me for that. So to conclude, I sincerely want to thank each and every one of everyone that has invested your time, your resources in the planning, the fundraising, the renovation of Cornett Hall. You've invested in a legacy, myself and in Oregon Tech alumni and future students. And it's so important that we do this, because what this school does, creating graduates, is amazing. And we have our footprint not only just in the Pacific Northwest, but across the country. So it's really important for Oregon Tech to continue to expand campus so that we can continue to produce the types of graduates, engineers, and the like from this university. So excited to continue on that journey. So thank you very much. Thank you. And with that, it is now my privilege to introduce Dr. Nagy Naganathan, who has been president of Oregon Tech since 2016 and has been able to watch this project progress from inception to reality. Dr. Nagy.
Good afternoon. Special hello to all those that are joining us virtually also today. It's truly an honor to celebrate this occasion in a formal sense. I know this building has been lived in, which makes it even more special. We will get to it too. Thank you, Trustee Jones, for coming all the way from LA to be part of this occasion, and for all the support of the board. And I bet it brings you very special memories. You've been wanting to tour the campus. I'm glad it worked out this morning. He was over the moon to see how many things have changed on the campus. I also would like to thank other members of the trustees that are here today. Also, I want to recognize our mayor, Carol Westfall. Mayor Westfall, thank you for being here. Several members of the foundation board are here. I would like to recognize Mr. Don Boyd. Thought I saw him. There he is. Yeah, and also we have Jim Hackett, also participating virtually from Colorado, Jim Blair, who is the vice chair of the foundation board. And we are very honored to have Senator Johnson here. Thank you, Senator, for taking a day out of your hectic schedule. I know how crazy it is for you to fly down and to be with us today. Rarely we do a ribbon cutting a year after it is open, but then such is the time. Certainly the COVID has introduced a lot of twists and turns in our life, but the good news is we are here today enjoying a place that has been lived in. And I have personally spoken with students and faculty, even when it was half done. I remember going to some of the civil labs at the time, how excited students were about being in those labs. The building was only half done, so now they have to be at least twice as happy since the whole building is done at this time. But I know they were thrilled to be in those labs. I remember visiting the strong wall in civil at the time. I bet it has been put to great use right now. Now, one advantage is that today, the tours you are going to get, I want to recognize the students and the faculty that are going to be part of giving the tours today. First of all, join me in recognizing the students and faculty that have made Cornett Hall their home. They are here today. I also want to acknowledge lots of donors, the state legislators, certainly leading among them Senator Johnson and our own legislators. They helped to make funding a reality, but that really made a dream somewhat of a reality. But to bring it to completion, so many of the donors I cannot recognize individually. All of you helped in so many ways to make that reality really more complete. It may not be always the facilities, it was equipment. We got to celebrate some individual labs. I will mention it also a little later, but I know the Hodges are here. They came all the way from Bend, and they helped to provide equipment, and we are going to recognize many of them at a later time. And I also learned in this process, Cornett is the largest building on campus, 101,000 square foot. As I have spoken with various folks along the way, I got a lot of stories last 4 years in terms of how the building was used. And as a matter of fact, I think Senator, you said a few years ago you were here, and it was a different kind of courtyard than it is right now. All right. Yeah, that's what happens when you're not scripted. Okay. But when I visited in 16, I could tell, the space could really use upgrades, and there was no ADA access, seismic retrofitting was lacking. But thanks to everybody's engagement, today we have a wonderful facility. I remember speaking to a lot of faculty and students over time. And there was every building, state budgeted building has an artwork project, and in this case, the artwork that the faculty and students I heard were very involved in. Maybe it was a senior design project or electives, I don't know. In civil, I heard, I think Dr. Reilly and others worked on it. Created the Fibonacci, selected the Fibonacci's arc, working with the the sculptor, as well the artist, as well as the committee, and they came up with it. Those of us that have read a little bit about Fibonacci sequence, I have to rely on my memory here. That defines or describes so many things in nature. That's what Fibonacci sequence is attributed to. And I think it is so appropriate. If you go into engineering these days, there is so much biomimicry. So many things are being designed with biomimicry. So I think it is so fitting for an engineering building. The students and faculty came up with this idea of the Fibonacci's arc, and that of course you get to celebrate outside. I understand there is also a scaled down model inside the building that the students built in preparation for it. So I think it is a very nice sequence. And one thing about Fibonacci sequence, you'll be surprised, it looks very, it looks to be very simplistic, the way it brings about. That sequence, it's amazing. In just a short sequence with 15, 20 data points, you can say how that curve shifts up to looking more exponential. It is not quite exponential, but it looks exponential. That's the kind of growth I hope we can expect from this building, from the participants in this building, both students and faculty alike. It's about innovation. The labs are designed that way. I remember civil engineering department was kind to invite me to address a regional conference. And when I talked to the visitors at that time, they were just blown away at the quality of the facilities at that time. And since then, I know there have been many more visitors. And completing a project like this doesn't happen just by a small group of people. There was a lot of input over time. I know it went through adjustments. We did one half, and then we had to lobby for the second half. So lots of people have been involved, obviously, faculty, students, staff. I want to recognize Tom Dara in facilities. I'm going to change his title to magician. That's what he does, the kind of work he does. Dean Kaiser, Dr. Mott, Many others have been involved along with faculty and staff to make this happen. So please join me in a round of hands to recognize their efforts. And again, I talked about donors coming in various ways, and we got to celebrate 2 or 3 special occasions in terms of dedicating certain facilities. Very touching history behind some of them our alums. So I want to recognize the James and Shirley Rippey Family Foundation Concrete Lab. We had the opening, the Gieda Hyde Watershed Science and Technology Lab, and certainly the Brian Leach Civil Engineering Design Resource Center. I hope you will take time to tour each one of them among others. So to everyone that made this dream become a reality, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. To shape such a massive facility is a giant undertaking. And I know there were still people wishing for old times, converting something back, but we went through an expedition and we are able to celebrate what we have today. So at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce a very special guest, Oregon's Senator from the 16th District, Senator Betsy Johnson. Her district includes the cities of Tillamook, Astoria, St. Helens, and Seaside. I am pleased and honored to be able to introduce her as a dear friend, as a personal dear friend, as well as a dear friend of Oregon Tech. You know, I won't tell you all of the story when I met her in December 2016, right after I was chosen. I happened to meet her in Portland. She said, "I've been looking for you. I have your photograph in my purse. I have been wanting to talk to you." That became a great introduction, and that became a great beginning of a wonderful friendship that has impacted Oregon Tech so wonderfully in so many ways. Now, I watched closely. I don't think I've ever found a public servant working so hard and so tirelessly on so many issues. I have gotten to serve with her on commissions wherein she's only ex officio, but you can't tell. She's so committed to the details. She's so knowledgeable about the details, the way you participate. It is giantly impressive. And public service and leadership is in her DNA. Her father was a long-time legislator in the House of Representatives. Her mom was very active in the education arena. So she and many others are rightfully proud of the legacy of her family in public service. And prior to coming to Oregon Senate, Senator Johnson was part of the Oregon House of Representatives. She is one of Oregon's chief budget writers as a co-chair of the Oregon the Legislative Assembly's Ways and Means Committee. And by the way, her accomplishments are not just limited to the legislature. She has an earned Juris Doctorate. She's a businesswoman. She's a very successful businesswoman and entrepreneur. She's also certified, and she has done active flying for many years. She is certified fixed wing as well as rotary wing pilot. And I read somewhere that she was one of the very few pilots chosen, female pilots chosen, to fly, maybe to put water on forest fires. And I understand there are a lot of special requirements that accompany that. So she's an accomplished professional in so many ways. Talk about someone who works tirelessly. And she has indeed worked tirelessly for Oregon Tech. I'm so touched and honored that she has taken the time to be with us. And soon she is going to talk about it. So as I recognize her and invite her to come up, I also want to recognize other legislators from our district who is not able to be here today because of other commitments, that they did send their best wishes and greetings, both Senator Linthicum and Representative Reilly. So her advocacy not only helped this project, has helped so many projects. In the 6 years between 16 and 22, we will get to do about $150 million of construction in Klamath Falls. And I know she has been a key figure in so many ways. With that, could you please join me in welcoming Senator Betsy Johnson?
Thank you for an incredibly generous introduction, Dr. Nagy. And Vice Chair Jones, it is delightful to renew our acquaintance. I think you'll be very pleased to know that I am not a politician here today with 45 pages of prepared remarks. I have none. I am just rather going to offer some observations. We flew down today in my husband's airplane on a Chamber of Commerce day. Madam Mayor, we flew over your town, and every time I'm here, it looks better. We were downtown, and I'll get to that in just a second, but we flew down. It was a gorgeous day. And I want to introduce one of our pilots. We were a 2-pilot operation today. Jalen, stand up. Jalen is 16 years old. He has his pilot's license. He's working on his instrument certificate. His father and I want him to apply to the Air Force Academy, but I saw Vice Chair Jones drag him off into a hallway, and so he may be looking at Oregon Tech. But he brought us down here very safely. At lunch, I went to Rotary with Dr. Nagy and heard his presentation about all of the accomplishments of Oregon Tech, which just magnifies my pride of association with this whole operation. After we came back, we took a tour with Tom, and I have to say that touring construction sites with the project manager, he sees in his eyes what's going to be. I see a lot of sheetrock, wire, cables, air guns, all that sort of stuff. But Tom's affectionate enthusiasm for the work he's doing is palpable. And I understand that he has re-upped to stay on to build the new dormitories that I have a few little fingerprints on money-wise. So I'm going to take credit for creating one job in Klamath Falls. Tom stays. What I was the most surprised about was the value. Tom told me, and I hope I got this right. I don't know if Tom's in the room. Oh, $180 a square foot to redo this. The state could take a page out of your book. We've got buildings that are $500, $600, $700 a square foot. And to turn this one out for $180 with this level of quality and aesthetic is remarkable. You guys, even after the dorms are done, don't let him go. Now this building. The last time that I was in this building, I was here with 2 gentlemen from the UK. One of them, both of them are engineers. One of them a professor at the University of Sheffield, and the other an entrepreneur. The 2 of them started a thing called the AMRC, the Advanced Manufacturing Research Center. They have both been decorated by Her Majesty for their contributions to the kingdom, largely coming from the AMRC. And it is the AMRC that is the model for OMIC, the Oregon Manufacturing Innovation Center, part of your Oregon Tech family, that I am so proud of. And so I was here with Dr. Ridgway and Adrian Allen, and we came into this building. And I'm going to try to be as charitable as I can. They were gobsmacked, I think is the proper English word, to see a building in as rough a shape as this one was, and yet turning out the quality of graduates that you turn out routinely here. I gave the commencement speech at Wilsonville one time, and I joked with others earlier today that as I watched them come across and their degrees were called out, almost all of them had jobs. And I'm thinking employed, versus many other places at matriculation where it's, would you like fries with that, even though they've got advanced degrees. Many of the graduates that I talked to said that their parents had demanded that they come back from graduation, even though they had to travel from jobs far away. Their parents said, we help pay for that, you're walking across that stage. But a huge percentage of them had jobs. And so that made fixing this place and other places on campus a clearer calling. You're turning out excellent graduates. You're doing wonderful work across all sorts of fields, not just engineering, but medical, allied healthcare professions. And so this courtyard that I joked with Dr. Nagy when he was speaking about was awful. It was just dreadful. There were dead car bodies in there, and there was oil on the ground, and it was like everybody's storage place. If a professor didn't have any place to stick his stuff, he just threw it in here. It was terrible. And so I have taken about a bazillion pictures already that I fully intend to send back to the University of Sheffield and Dr. Ridgway and Adrian to say, look what these guys have done now. What they were doing before was wonderful in terms of employable graduates. Now they're doing it in this beautiful, beautiful building. Not to say anything to diminish from the CEET building. That is simply gorgeous. And Tom's pride of being project manager on that building is really kind of emotional, Tom. I mean, you own that building, and it is going to be gorgeous. the vistas, the classroom space, the labs. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful building. I will just conclude by saying my deep relationship with Oregon Tech. I'd had a kind of tangential one when the legislature was going to demobilize work on the Dow building. And so the contractor was going to have to leave and then come back and mobilize again. And I tried to convince my legislative colleagues that that was the stupidest way to spend public money. And fortuitously, the contractor was allowed to proceed ahead. But my real relationship with Oregon Tech began with the arrival of Dr. Nagy. That has grown not only from a professional and collegial to one that I would characterize as deep affection. He is an inspirational leader. Oregon Tech is so lucky to have this man right now with the courage, the capability, and the commitment to drive Oregon Tech to the next level. I believe earning a place nationally, if not internationally. It was my privilege to be Dr. Nagy's wingman at the legislature, very capably assisted by Paul Cosgrove, who was your government affairs person, now retiring, and also with the encouragement of Craig Campbell, who is our executive director at OMIC, to make sure that we got Oregon Tech a big share of whatever pie was being cut up down in Salem. So I'm incredibly proud to be associated with Oregon Tech, Oregon's Polytechnic University. Go Owls.
At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our provost, Dr. Joanna Mott. She joined us in 2019, and she came from Cal State, Sacramento. Before that, she was at James Madison, and before that, she was at the University of Texas. And she also did some schooling in Canada, and we are proud to have her as our provost and the chief academic officer, Dr. Joanna Mott.
Everyone, hope you can all hear me and haven't had to adjust the microphone, so that's always good. So yes, she did. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to start by thanking all of the faculty and staff who spent many hours, days, weeks, months planning and implementing the Cornett renovation and expansion project. In particular, I'd like to thank a few faculty and staff who played key roles. And there are lots of others, so I always hate to do this because you mention a few and there's always others that don't get named who are really also very heavily involved. But I will go ahead and particularly thank engineering faculty Roger Lindgren, Brian Moravec, and David Thamet. Management faculty and former interim dean Hallie Newport, I'm sure she's here. And the engineering executive assistant, Valjean Newsom. She is here, hopefully. Hey, Valjean. And of course, our Dean of Engineering, Technology and Management, Tom Kaiser, who is here also. As I said, there are many more. I don't have the time or the list for all of them, but I know that there was a lot of work with facilities and capital planning to ensure this project came to fruition. Cornett's really a true showpiece demonstrating our commitment to our students. When I arrived, as Dr. Nagy said, in 2019, it was halfway done. I think one wing was done and the other wing wasn't. And so I saw some that looked really great and some that were still tops and all kinds of, stuff all over the place. But walking through the space, I was really amazed at the labs being upgraded and expanded, and the quality and the size and the scope that was being made for this university. Dean Kaiser's told me that he's an evaluator for ABET, the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, and in that role he travels all over not only the country but all over the world doing evaluations. And he's told me that he's never seen labs of this caliber being accessible and used by undergraduate students at any other university he's been seeing. So this is truly unique. that we have this kind of lab space, this quality, cutting edge, at a primarily undergraduate institution, and it's really wonderful. So for our students, it's obviously a tremendous experience. They get to not only have hands-on education that Jones was talking about, but to be able to do that in spaces that are filled with modern cutting-edge technology, preparing them to transition confidently with a skill set to position them to be successful in their careers. And we said, Senator Johnson was talking about that, yes, employed, but employed and with a skill set that will carry them forward very successfully. We're already teaching in the labs this fall. I think there's about 40 lab sections being taught, and some of the students who are being taught in there are here today, and I know they'll be doing some tours for you. For Oregon Tech, moving forward, this building provides the infrastructure to enable us to grow our engineering programs, both undergraduate and graduate, for years to come. You look at the size, you look at the scope, we've got lots of room to grow, and I think that's going to also be very critical for Oregon Tech. So I'm going to just finish up by saying thank you all to everyone who's contributed in this way to, in any way, to the renovation and expansion. And I'm going to pass on to Dr. Roger Lindgren, who I already mentioned had a key role. And if you go around the side of the building, there's the side that says civil engineering. Dr. Lindgren's going to share what Cornett Hall means to him as a faculty member. He's been teaching at Oregon Tech for 22 years and is a chair and professor of civil engineering. His perspective and that of his peers has been crucial to the development and success of this project. And I really appreciate when I see the pieces that have been put together for civil, you can really see the time and care that was taken in putting those labs together. So thank you very much, Roger, and I'll pass it to you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm good. Well, welcome, as everyone has said, to this beautiful place, Cornett Hall. We've all heard that saying, a house is just a building, but it takes a family to make that house a home. Cornett Hall, I'm sorry to say, is just a building. It's big and it's bright and it's beautiful, but it's the people, the students, the staff, the professors that make Cornett Hall a home. We in the civil engineering family are really proud to call this East Wing of Cornett Hall our home. We used to live in the West Wing. We moved. As people have said, this project happened in 2 phases. We were fortunate enough to be in phase 1. And I'd like to thank a few key members of the civil engineering family that worked tirelessly in pursuit of the high quality learning spaces that I'm hoping that each of you will have a chance to look at this afternoon. 101,000 square feet, I think is what someone said, and it is really worth seeing. So I want my first thank you to go to Jordan Hancock. Jordan isn't with us today, but she might be joining us virtually. Jordan is a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science graduate from Oregon Tech. She's now a successful engineer up in Washington State. One of those people, Senator Johnson, that employed, highly employed, great job. Jordan was the student rep on the Cornett Renovation Committee. And she was emphatic that student viewpoints were heard throughout the space allocation process. I had a chance to talking with the architects today, and we were recalling those wonderful days of arguing over space and allocating space. And we know this is a challenging project. But Jordan wanted to make sure that it wasn't just the professors and the administrators, but it was the students that had a voice. You can see the fruits of Jordan's ambition and her desires to carve out spaces for students. Join me afterwards for a tour, and I'll show you the Civil Engineering Student Center and our graduate student bullpen, soon to be renamed the Everline Graduate Student Offices. So we're very excited about that. Thank you to Carol and Alan. Another big thank you to Pat Kyle, our CE technician. Pat is here somewhere. Thought he was. I saw him earlier. Well, if you come on a tour with me, we'll make sure that you see Pat. Pat coordinated all the moving of the lab equipment, and it might sound simple, but this is not just, a couple of rolling carts of equipment. This was weeks and weeks of organizing and planning to move things over into our new labs. and he's been working tirelessly for the last 15 months really to get everything set up in the new labs, make them productive for our students and their professors. I want to thank some extended members of our civil family, the Leach family and the Rippey Family Foundation that Dr. Nagy has already recognized, but I want to recognize them again for providing us with the Brian Leach Design Resource Center, a fantastic place for our students, and the new Rippey Concrete Materials Lab. The late Brian Leach was an Oregon Tech CE grad, and he became a friend of mine. He served on many advisory committees, and he was a great friend to the department. And we're just truly grateful that Brian and his family provided the support that they did and for their ongoing support to our civil engineering. I want to recognize the efforts of some of my incredible colleagues, Dr. Sean Sinclair and Dr. CJ Reilly. Sean led the department during the renovation process, and he was an extremely vocal advocate for our students and for their laboratory needs. Sean made sure that there was a civil engineering representative at every meeting. Every time there was a discussion of Cornett Hall, Sean made sure that civil engineering's voice was heard. CJ Reilly, he was with us earlier, there he is, seemingly everywhere during the planning for and the implementation of the renovation. And since the project has been finished, it's not really finished for Dr. Reilly because then he went out, he got a bunch of grants, internal and external, and he's now filling this bright, big, beautiful building with bright, big, beautiful equipment to be able to test things. So that's fantastic. I want to thank three of our former family members that aren't able to be with us here today. Dr. David Thamer. Dr. Mott recognized David, and I want to recognize him as well. Dr. Matthew Sleep and Professor Aaron Cox. While they've moved on in their careers, their contributions to Cornett Hall will be felt for many generations to come. I want to thank our newest professors, Dr. Greer and Dr. Wong, for their inspired teaching as they make best use of our facilities. It's wonderful to walk through the halls and to see professors with, you'll see we have class openings into every lab. So you can look in, you can see the professors engaging with their students. And it literally warms my heart to see that interaction. Finally, my biggest thank you is to our students, past and present. And yes, that includes you, Vince. 1984, you were here in the era of John Lund and of Dick Zabinden and Jess Crabtree. And those professors did an incredible job with some less than optimal labs. Dick Lever is here today, and Dick also was through many of those years and turned out those incredible graduates, despite the fact that, yes, Senator Johnson, it wasn't the prettiest building around. Early students in civil engineering will recall that we only had about 1,000 square feet dedicated to civil engineering. It was in the old watershed lab, and everything was done there, wasn't it, Vince? The hydraulics lab and the structures lab and the concrete lab all kind of took place. Concrete was probably mixed outside, which is a challenge in the winter. Well, now you're going to see over 25,000 incredible square feet of beautiful facilities. We finally have got to the space where our facilities match the quality of our students. And I think that's an inspiring thing. We've always had some just incredible students, and now we have the space and the laboratories, the teaching areas to match the quality of those students. I welcome you to join me later. I've got some students and there'll be other faculty members that will tour you around, show you the labs, and I'm sure that mechanical manufacturing will be doing the same on their side of the house. So welcome to our home, and thank you. Dr. Fincher.
Thank you. It may have been better that you couldn't have heard me. Oh, okay. So this next person has already been described or pointed out a couple of times, and I'm going to go off script here. Senator Johnson mentioned the two individuals who were awarded distinguished awards in England for what they've done, and I think the same should be true for Tom Darrow. I don't know exactly if he's a sir, a lord, a baron, or whatever, but Tom, after today, we're going to put you at one, and when we finish C, we're going to raise you up the next one, and then after the residence halls are done, you're going to be like royalty. So Tom Darrow, thank you. And truly, on behalf of Oregon Tech, a very grateful and heartfelt thank you to all of our donors, our legislators, and friends of the university who've collectively made the campaign for the future a success. As Dr. Nagy mentioned, Representative Werner Reschke could not be here today, but would like to express his full support and congratulations at this ceremony. He wrote the following: I am excited that this day has finally arrived. Big congratulations to Oregon Tech and our community on the new and improved Cornett Hall. I look forward to seeing all the new innovative and creative ideas that this new space inspires. I'm happy to have been a small part of the step forward. Thank you. During the campaign, we received over 640 donations from individuals, organizations, and other entities, totaling more than $1.2 million. Leading the fundraising effort for this and other campaigns is the Oregon Tech Foundation Board of Directors. Those past and current members of the Oregon Tech Foundation, please stand and be recognized. The Went family was a leadership donor in this campaign as well, and their continued support of Tech in this community is very much appreciated. It is indeed humbling. I want to say thank you, especially to Bob Kingzette, who is here today. Bob, please accept our gratitude. Bob has become a fast friend, and just the other day, he and I were meeting, and he put his hand on my shoulder and said, Ken, and asked, Ken, has anybody told you today that you're doing a good job? No, Bob. And he said, there's probably a reason for that. So I've been motivated ever since. We're also excited to unveil 3 office spaces for our from campaign donors today. Some have been mentioned earlier. When I call your name, if you will, please stand if able so that we can show you our appreciation. First is Alan and Carol Eberline. Next, Bob and Doris Hodge and the Hodge family. Thank you. Steve and Nancy Sliwa could not be with us today in person, but please join me in thanking them for their support. We'll be offering a tour of that, so be sure to stop by and see these newly dedicated. As a fundraiser, I would be remiss if I did not mention that there are still opportunities to support this and other campaigns. The foundation board members and our staff are here if you'd like to talk to anyone about making a transformation. Incidentally, as has been mentioned, we look forward to celebrating the Center for Excellence in Engineering and Technology, the SEAT building. We'll have that ribbon cutting hopefully in spring of 2022. We look forward to honoring more contributors to the campaign for the future at that time. Now, time for the big ceremony. At this time, if my colleagues will be prepared and all of our cameramen and women and paparazzi will be prepared. Be seated. That was wonderful. Thank you all. In closing, I present this challenge to all of us, and it's based on a quote by former Congresswoman and educator Shirley Chisholm. She said, "You don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas." Thank you for taking time, implementing ideas, and making today a reality. You did not stand on the sideline. You all engaged in the hard work of higher education, and for that we are all humbly. I invite you to enjoy some refreshments, but please remember to wear your mask when you're not eating or drinking. and enjoy a tour offered by our wonderful Oregon Tech students. Thank you all. Go Owls.